Susan Sontag's book Against Interpretation and Other Essays was published in the year 1969. This In this book, she begins with a discussion of the problem of interpretation. Interpretation, I hope you know, when you read and understand, come up with some meaning, that is called interpretation. For example, you read a poem, and after reading the poem, you come up with some meaning, you understand, and you try to explain that meaning. That is your interpretation. For example, now I'm teaching you people, you're listening to it, and at the same time, you are interpreting the meaning. So, in this particular collection of essays, Sontag begins with a discussion of the problem of interpretation and even hermeneutics. Hermeneutics is the literary term in which we can define it as an interpretation, the science of interpretation. Hermeneutics is the technical term or literary term to refer to the science of interpretation. So she discusses the problem of interpretation and the science of interpretation in cultural criticism. So this is the part of cultural studies. And she argues for a mode of aesthetic appreciation. She argues in favor of aesthetic, a mode of aesthetic appreciation. Aesthetic, I hope you are familiar with rasa theory, etc. is the part of aestheticism. Aesthetic theory focuses on formalism, means form. It talks about style and form. It talks about the beauty of work in terms of its style and form. So she argues for a mode of aesthetic appreciation that draws on classical understandings of formalism. There is a need of aesthetic theory which borrows ideas from formalism. And she draws special attention to a work of art sense of style. Okay, means here she focuses on the work of art's sense of style, how style is understood, how style is presented in that given work of art. So she focuses on that. And later she goes ahead, proceeds with an unprecedented sensitivity. Unprecedented means never before. She shows that kind of sensitivity to sensory excitation and an openness to experience. Now, she is well aware of, sensitive enough to understand the sensory excitation. Sensory means sense organs related to your sense of, hearing, sense of seeing. Now, this is called sense. Means our sense organs are, excited. We is well aware of this sensory excitation. After reading something, you have that particular feeling, and even you are open to experience something. So she shows that kind of sensitivity through this particular book. Now, the part one of this book contains two of her more conceptual or theoretical essays, and one of them is against interpretation, and the other one is on style. In the part one, she talks about these two things. Again, she talks about interpretation, and in the next essay, she talks about style. And in these particular essays, Sontag argues for what she calls an erotics of art to replace dominant modes of interpretation in cultural criticism. Erotics is something which is exciting. You might be knowing something about erotics. At Ajanta Ellora, when you go, you come across the caves in which there are the carvings which show certain erotic aestheticism. So, an erotic of art should be replaced by dominant modes of interpretation in cultural criticism. That's what she sees. She thinks, and she appeals. It is a modest plea for critic and art appreciator to pay closer attention the ways that style is present or absent in that work, in given work of art. So this is what we understand. Further, the articles and reviews collected in Against Interpretation and Other Essays makes up a good part of the criticism which she wrote between 1962 and 1965. This particular period, no, this particular writing, she describes as a sharply defined period in her life. So in early 1962, she finished her first novel, The Benefactor, and in late 1965, she began a second novel. So she talks about the energy and the anxiety, the fear that spilled over into criticism had a beginning and an end. So she now had this kind of energy and anxiety, and that was sprayed into criticism. So she described this period as a period of search, reflection, and discovery. So in these essays, she talks a great deal about particular works of art, but she talks about, you know, whatever is there in the work cannot be counted as criticism proper. Means although she talks about particular works of art and implicitly about the task of the critic, the role of the critic, but what she says, whatever is there in the book cannot be counted as criticism proper. Whatever is there in this particular book against interpretation of the essays is not a criticism proper. Means methodological criticism, systematic criticism. Okay, and she calls it, pieces of journalism or meta criticism rather. Instead of calling it criticism proper, it is not exact criticism. It is rather criticism of criticism. It is meta criticism. Of course, there are certain pieces of journalism they have to be kept aside, but most of the works can be described or categorized as meta criticism. Okay. Finally, when she was writing, she was writing with passionate partiality about problems raised by works of art, mainly contemporary in different genres. She talked passionately. Of course, that was partial. She says, whatever she considered as her opinions, later she changed or she revisited them. Through this particular book, Sontag wanted to expose and clarify the theoretical assumptions. When you judge something, when you say that you have the interest in particular work of art, there are certain theoretical assumptions. And she's trying to show these underlying theoretical assumptions to clarify, to explain them. In these attempts, he does not take a position, rather. Means he does not take a position about arts or modernity, but there is some kind of general positions which takes shape in this process. It gives voice to itself. Okay, so the essays in this collection are more than just case studies of an evolving sensibility. She dislikes any kind of grading of work of art. That is called value judgment. Means this work is a great work, this one is okay kind of work, this is bad work. So this she dislikes such kind of grading. Rather, she claimed that she wrote as an enthusiast and a partisan. Okay, we understood that. And she thinks that these essays have helped her to see the world differently, with fresher eyes, and her conception of her tasks as a novelist is radically changed. So, this is what she talks about against interpretation and other essays. This is essential for the background understanding of the essay that you're going to study. You're going to study the essay against interpretation, which is divided into 10 different sections. We shall talk about it in the next lecture. We shall stop for now.